Hi, my name is Julia Estrada. I'm an actress, a singer, and an activist, and I'm also a proud alumni of the Boys and Girls Club of the Greater Washington area. I was a Boys and Girls Club scholarship recipient, and I also participated in the Teen Arts program. After high school, I went on to Texas State University to pursue my BFA in musical theater, and that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about, musical theater, and more specifically, pop rock musical theater. In this video, we are going to define pop rock musical theater, then we're going to talk about the history of pop rock musicals and what shows could be considered pop rock musicals. Lastly, we are going to go through step by step the process of how to audition for a pop rock musical. Let's get started. Let's try, if we can, to define pop rock musical theater. It is not traditional musical theater, which began in the 1860s with the first Broadway musical, The Black Crook, and has changed and developed over 150 years. It is a much newer form of musical theater. It came about when theater artists started to meld the worlds of musical theater and musical storytelling with popular music. Popular music being the kind of music that you would hear on the radio at the time. It began with one of the first well-known pop rock musicals, Hair. Audiences from all over fell in love with this musical, but didn't quite know how to define it. It didn't fit into the traditional sense of musical theater with its pop, rock, disco, funk, soul music. It was completely different than what audiences had experienced in the past. So it began this new genre within the musical theater world, pop rock musical theater. So I like to define pop rock musicals as musicals featuring non-traditional music, usually reflective of the kind of music you would hear on the radio during any given era. As new musicals were created that featured more popular music, that definition and genre of pop rock musical theater began to grow and evolve. The term we use is pop rock, but that definition encompasses a bunch of different genres. There could be shows featuring R&B music, soul, funk, rap, hip hop, country, disco, singer-songwriter. So the definition right now is based around popular music, but it's going to grow and change as Broadway and the musical theater industry continues to develop and encourage more musicals that feature popular music. Let's think about shows that might be considered pop rock musicals. Shows like Jesus Christ Superstar, Mamma Mia, Chess, Jagged Little Pill, Waitress, Moulin Rouge, Six the Musical, and my personal favorite, even though I might be a little bit biased, is Hamilton. I'm currently the female swing on the Philip tour of Hamilton. As swing, I cover multiple different roles. I cover a role in the ensemble, and I also cover all three Schuyler sisters. We could have a whole other video on the roles of understudies, covers, and swings, but we'll leave that for another time. But when I think about the genres that I cover in my different roles, that all the roles cover on stage. If you go to see a production of Hamilton, or listen to the cast album, or watch it on Disney+, you will hear rap stylings, hip hop, R&B, soul, and so many others sprinkled in there. And I think about what Hamilton has done for Broadway and for musical theater in terms of diversifying audiences. For many hardcore musical theater fans, they're not so sure about this hip-hop musical that they're about to see, but then they leave the theater rapping along to our songs. Or for some who love rap, hip-hop, soul music, and come in and this is their first theatrical experience. It's melding all these different worlds in one show. And that really gets to the core of why I love pop rock musical theater. Maybe you're like me and your first introduction to musical theater was traditional musical theater. I grew up with all my movie musicals on VHS and I would sing along to Fiddler on the Roof constantly. But when I discovered pop rock musical theater, I discovered that my favorite artists, my favorite pop artists, R&B artists, soul artists, that their sounds and stylings, their uniqueness was valued and honored in my industry and on stage. Not only that, but I got to see their songs portrayed in a whole new light when it's part of a theatrical experience, when they're part of musical storytelling. But maybe you're not like me, and maybe you don't feel connected to musical theater whatsoever, traditional or contemporary, but you do have favorite artists. You do love singing along to the radio or finding every song your favorite artist has made on Spotify. And maybe your first introduction to musical theater is seeing your favorite artist's music on stage, like Sarah Bareilles' music in Waitress. Or maybe it's seeing your parent or grandparent's favorite artist's music on stage, like Tommy, which features music from The Who, or Bob Dylan's music in A Girl from the North Country. Or maybe you're the next great pop rock musical theater composer, and we're all just waiting for your unique sound, voice, your unique perspective to create the next Hamilton. Pop rock musical theater has opened a door and has made so many of us feel like we can be the most authentic versions of ourselves in this industry and in our community. So now for the fun part, auditioning for a pop rock musical. If you audition for a pop rock musical, they are not gonna wanna hear any musical theater audition songs. They don't wanna hear contemporary, traditional, not even pop rock musical theater. They want to hear a song in the style of the show. Some people find this super intimidating, but I actually think it's a really fun part of auditioning for pop rock musicals. We get to do our own research. Sometimes I find new and exciting artists, and then the end final product, our audition, ends up being our unique cover, our unique take on a pop rock song. For this step-by-step guide, I am going to use Six the Musical, a musical that I have been listening to constantly in quarantine. If you haven't heard the cast album, it is so, so good. Give it a listen. So let's get started. So say I've got an audition for Six the Musical. My first step is to do the research on the show. I find out that Six is a new show originally produced in Edinburgh, Scotland in 2017. It is the historical retelling of the Six Wives of Henry VIII, book, music, and lyrics by Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss. I also find out that the form that it takes is a pop concert. That is a huge hint for me to focus on pop artists and pop music. My second step is to listen to the cast album. You can find the cast album for Six or many other cast albums on Spotify. You can also find it on YouTube and other places where music is streaming. While I'm listening to the cast album, I try to pay close attention to the sounds and stylings that I'm hearing and try to think of any of my favorite pop artists that it reminds me of. Those up-tempo songs from Six are giving me total Jessie J, Meghan Trainor, Little Mix vibes, and the ballads remind me so much of Leona Lewis and Kelly Clarkson. So after I'm done listening to the full cast album, I start with those artists. I go to their artist pages on Spotify and I listen to the entire cachet of music that they have there. I try to listen for songs that remind me of Six. And I'm also looking for good audition songs. A good audition song is one that translates well on piano, because that's what you're going to be using in the audition, is an accompanist usually. And also a song that shows off my vocal range and storytelling ability. One of my favorite things about using Spotify to find an audition song is that if you're really not finding anything from the artists that I listed before, or the artists that the cast album reminds you of, you can scroll down and there's a section on Spotify that says fans also like. You can find artists that are similar to the artists that you're looking at. I've used this section to find so many new artists and so many new audition songs. So with the plethora of songs that are on Spotify, you're bound to find something. In my search for an audition song, I came across the artist page of Emily King and her song Running. The song reminded me so much of the ballad from Six the Musical, Heart of Stone, sang by the character Jane Seymour. So I began the process of taking the song that I found on Spotify and turning it into my audition song. That process includes finding the music online or in a store, maybe meeting with a pianist to come up with the perfect arrangement and to cut it down to an audition cut, which is usually 16 to 32 bars of music or 30 seconds to a minute of music. I also began to think about how the song should be performed in an audition. It's important to remember that it is not a musical theater song, so it shouldn't be performed like a musical theater song. It's a pop song at its core. Try to think about the intention and the integrity of the original artist, and also try to play into the vibe and the groove of the song. So the next video that you're going to see will be my audition for Six, the musical. I will be singing Running by Emily King. Who is that man counting the footsteps behind me? Does he understand? Can he see all the things that I'm hiding? Does he know what it's like to be captured? 'Cause I don't, and I'll keep it that way. It's a feeling of freedom I'm after, and I know that I'll find it someday. So I can stop running from all of the things that I have done, and I can stop running from whatever I have become. Ooh. And there you have it. That is your introduction to pop rock musical theater. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I hope you have fallen just a little bit more in love with pop rock musical theater. I want to leave you with one activity, if I can. I want you to think about your favorite musical artist, whether that's a pop singer, a rapper, an R&B artist, a soul artist, and think about what sort of musical you would create with their music. Would you tell their life story? Would you tell your life story? Would you create your own story and add their music to it? Start brainstorming now, and I can't wait to see your musicals on Broadway one day.